Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. In this video, I'll be creating the chess game in Unity. So let's start by creating the chess. I've already done the checkers video, so the design is going to be similar as we have done in the checkers. If you want to see how I created the checkers game, go to the previous video. So let's start by creating the game in Unity. So I opened up the Unity editor and created a new project, and we have a new scene and I have renamed it to gameplay. And inside the gameplay, I've just added the title and set up the canvas to match this. So after doing that, I've created three scripts. The first one's for the board, the second one's for the constant, and the game manager, which we'll need. And after that, let's create the start and the quit buttons. So let's add UI and button, and I'll call it start, and inside start let's just towards the top zero, just give 75. Let's set the width any color inside, and let's make it trans, and let's set the transition. So after that, let's change the text. So instead of button, call it start, and let us set its size to currently set this center, will put towards the left. So we'll position it at negative good, and after that we'll duplicate it, call it quit. And similarly inside the quit button, it's going to be at positive 50. Let's change the alignment to it and change the text to quit. Now to add the functionality to this text, we'll create it inside the game manager. So let's do. So let's go inside game manager, add visual studio, and inside the game manager I'll create two functions. First one is going to be public game restart, and we'll just call unity engine dot scene management dot scene manager dot load scene. There is only one scene, add the text. And the next one is going to be the public void game quit, and inside game quit you just do the application dot quit. And if to check it inside the unity editor, if it is unity editor, then we'll do unity editor dot editor application dot displaying to false. And after that, this to work. So let's add the functionality in the. So let's go inside unity, and for the start and the button to add the game manager, we'll have a game manager attached to it. And for the start button, let's add a event listener for the click, call the game restart function, and for the quit, to call the game quit start win. And after doing that, we able to start the game, quit the game. So let's start by the blocks, and let's create a B object. Let's call it block, and let's make the color of it black. So camera size 10 because it's crossing grid. And after that, we need main camera. Let's hit, and let's set my position 7, and so we can't because we position it at 5 and negative. Now it needs so position the camera at -5 is not bad, 5 perfectly at the center. And after doing that, let's get blocks, and let's save this block as a. So we can duplicate this block and spawn this block in the. So after doing that, let's go inside Visual and let's spawn. So inside this blocks for two for loops on it, 0, initiate it, array block, and will set up its color, and color is going to type first 2 equal to 0, 0. This will split the color to be, so it's a gray and black. After doing that, we should be able to. So let's go inside Unity. Okay, so we should have blocks at the. Okay, we didn't set up the reference. That is the game manager. Let's add the block as a reference. That's it. So we are getting the checkerboard pattern, and after doing that, we create the board. And to reference everything, we need to create the enums and the play. So let's create the constant. I already done that, so I'll just create it. So uh, let's go inside the concept. Let's delete everything, but uh, create a static class for any later. And here the first need here. So call the public enum have two pairs. The first one's red, and the next. And after doing that, have grid contain years. The grid need the for the first will start from look. right step between king. Finally, the board stores all the six piece types. After doing that, we have a public struct, create a game piece. Inside the game, will have public type here, here, and public type. After that, public int. So should be enough for the game piece. And after doing that, one more for calculating the move. So let's create a struct and the inside the move first with the public grid, and we get from start and start so we can know which position capturing from or which position, and public goal of this capture. And if it is a capture, we'll need a public game piece, and the game piece will call it capture. And after doing that, for a public bool, call it can, and so it will only be called when there is an move available. Early, we'll call a public pool can castle. After that, castling, we need to pass the public bool castle. We need to pass the game piece, and the game piece we are going to pass is rook. After doing that, we need to pass where it wants castle. Where it wants to castle is we already passed the king where it's going to castle in the end. Now we need to pass where the rook's going to. So we'll call it castle. So that's going to be for the constant. And let's go into the game manager. Inside the game manager, the first thing we'll need is all the game. And after that, we'll need all the sprites. So let's create a serialized game object, and we'll call it game. And to store this game pieces, the dictionary piece object, call it piece. Change the piece site serialized field. Just add that object and call it upgrade select. So we'll use it afterwards, and then after we'll need a serialized field for the list of sprites, and inside the sprite we need to have the red pieces, the blue, and after that let's create the board. So let's do this. Let's add a construct. So it's going to be a normal class, and inside the construct class we'll create a new board. So after that we'll need a board. I'll just call it my board. Next, let's create some. Yep, let's create some. So the first variable we need can click has been finished. Then check for is game pause. And after that, we need to store the piece. To store the list of, call it current, and we need for the current player which is there, call it, and let's set it up all this in the awake function. So in the awake function, after blocks, first we'll set up the board. Afterwards, we'll dictionary, we'll set the as game false, can click to true, game pause, false. We also set up the current player. So current player, white always moves first. So you here. And after that, we need to spawn the piece. So to spawn the pieces, we'll need to, let's create a function instead of spawn blocks. All this. Let's create the spawn. So it's going to void spawn the pieces. We'll get it from the board dictionary. Board's piece position dictionary. So we'll create the board. So after this, the game should work. Let's see if we have any errors. So let's go inside unit and let's it, as long as we are not referencing, don't have anything. But so let's go inside Visual Studio and let's start creating the position for the piece. So for the positions, we'll just use grid, and depending on it, we'll convert it. 2D array, and depending on it we'll convert it to a grid. So let's go inside the board and let's create. First we'll need for a dictionary which goes from game piece and to grid. It stores the players position. So we'll call it piece positions, and after that need a public list of more. We'll just call it piece. Then we'll need to get the piece position. So let's just store it inside a 2D array. So it's going to be read only, and we have type two-dimensional integer, and we are going to call it start. And it's going to be a new int cross int integer. And after that, pass the players full. So it starts from 1. We'll need to create array, and we'll pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the king, and afterwards we'll have 3, 2, and 1. Then pass the sixes. So 6 which is pawn. So let's pass the 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7. So this one are the pawns, and after that let's create the uh, white side pawns, or here we are creating as a blue side pawn. And let's duplicate it and pass as early 1, 3, then 4, then 5, 3, 2, and we'll need one more -1. Here also we'll need, and after that our zeros doesn't contain any. So let's duplicate these zeros 3 more times. So we have a valid position. So depending on this 2D array, we'll have the player positions. I didn't create, I just created this 2D array and just set up the player positions depending on. So let's set up. So first we need to create a new grid. So let's just call the piece positions to be a dictionary, and after that to pass the crossing equals to I less than curly for j is equal to 0, j less than, okay. The start position, it's for the j and the I. So first pass j for the I not equal to 0. What piece spawn is the game piece will have the piece number, piece type, and so let's get the player first. So player equals to start pose of I is greater than 0, and pass the red. Else will pass the blue. So this is the player, and piece type have the rook, knight, bishop, queen, king, and the pawn. So where's the type? Rook, knight, bishop, queen, king, and pawn. So for the piece type, we'll add 1. We'll subtract 1, convert it into. So let's add the piece type. Just call it piece. Set it to, cast it to a piece. We just need to do the negative. So we can just do the absolute mathf dot abs of, will pass the start pose, and here we'll pass the I and pass it absolute value, then we'll subtract 1. So it will convert I. After that, let's change the piece number to 1. If we'll get any errors, we'll create a new. So let's going to rest, then the type piece. After that, we'll pass the paper, and if we already have a duplicate piece, we need to increase this game piece. So if there is a piece positions dot contains, so if if it contains the current piece, then we'll increase the current piece. So current piece dot piece per plus equals 1. Don't need to file. And after that, you set the piece positions for the current piece to be the new grid. Here the x position is going to be, okay, and the y position is going to be the I. After that, we should have the piece position up. Now let's create the game piece. So inside the spawn pieces, let's get the dictionary. Yep, let's get the so let's pass the player pause goes to my board dot piece positions. After that, get the piece type, uh, we have the player's position, then we'll do a for each. We'll go inside the after doing that, let's first get the player item dot key dot player and current piece is going to be item dot key dot p. After doing that, let's get the position code in the value. Then we'll create a temporary game object and initiate the game piece which we have not created. Create it. So after instantiating the game piece, we'll set its transform position. Transform dot position is going to be vector, and here we'll pass the pause dot x, pause dot y, and let's position it to f so it's above the block. And after that, we need to set its sprites. Temporary piece dot get component. Component we need to get is the renderer. Inside the sprite renderer, we need to change. And the sprite we have not stored it, but just stored. So depending on the piece number, we'll change the sprite. So let's so first we'll check if the current player is red. So if it is red, then we'll pass the red pieces, cast it to an integer, and pass the current piece. Else, copy this red pieces to call on the blue piece. After doing that, we need to update the piece dictionary or the temporary piece, and not the temporary piece for the item, which is the piece. What did we create? Okay, item dot key value, and it's going to be the temporary piece. So we should be able to spawn the piece, and let's see in Unity if we are getting this. Let's add not why. Cold in here, so I'm having it. Let's add the red pieces. The blue will also need to get the game piece. Let's create the game piece. It's just going to be, yeah, no, added the sprites, so I'll add the spriting for the sprites. I'll just press right in the, let's make it by and the slide by size. If I want to add, we should have. So let's create a piece and just pass this, call it piece. It's not going to be anything as a piece. Pass game piece, the game man. As the default one size. Let's pass the red pieces. So the red starts from rook and and bishop and queen and the king, the pawn. Similarly for the blue, bishop, queen, king, and now if we hit play, it should spawn the pieces. Yep, it spawned lighter blue. Change it to dark blue. Pieces are placed perfectly, so error. And I'll change you. For both are looking ugly, but just for the sake of it, I'll choose dark blue. Bishop, the queen, okay, and if we play, we'll to see the piece. So this is how the default board looks. We need to get the pieces. So depending on the game state, as we have done it before. So let's just create the functionality for the queen. And depending on it, we should be able to create special pieces. And pawn's a special case. Has too many moves for which we needed to add. So let's start creating it. So let's start creating inside the game manager. You can click on inside Visual Studio and let's go inside the game manager. And let's start from the update. So we have everything set up for the awake. There's not anything else need. Update's going to be at the update. Check the game has finished or game paused and just to do, and we'll get the input dot get mouse down of 0, and after getting the button, let's just get the mouse. So we can get it as camera dot main dot off. any problem. And let's get the clicked grid. And inside the clicked grid, we'll create a new grid. And for the X, has to be here and pass the pose.x 0.5. And for similarly for the Y, has to be here and pass the mark Y. So we should be able to get the grid, and after that we'll check if we can click. Can click was set to true. We should be able to create get the click. Set the current moves to a new list of moves, and after that get the click the piece. So for the click the piece, we'll get it the board, and inside the board let's create the get piece set grids. So pub game piece, and it will return get piece set grid, and here we'll pass the grid. Let's return a game piece number equal to -1. And before doing that, we'll do a for each for item in position. Inside the piece positions, we'll match its by value. Item dot value x dot item dot value dot y to y, and return item dot p. We should be able to get the piece, and let's create one which is valid. So it's going to be public bool valid grid plus turn big net m dot I should and I. So it will check for the grid validity. Doing that, we should get the piece or whatever it is. So let's get that. Get the piece first to hold dot get piece path. After getting the click the piece, we'll first check piece number or piece dot that will set up the. Let's not set up the current mode. Can click pulse and yes. Let's create a function at the current node for to return a list of moves. solid pass here first. And at the end, it's just returns. After that, get the here and so let's first get the here. Let's just get dot piece type add get get pause. Let's call it inside the game. So after guess set, we'll call the after we have clicked valid get the get the cross for the click the P. So we have got the moves and what we do is when can click is false for each inside the for each so with a check if item dot x every item is dot x. So if we are clicking an end position item dot end dot y equals to the grid dot y. So we have clicked an end position, then we need to do the following. First thing we'll do is we'll update the player's position for trans. No item here, so we'll pass dot x grid dot y. So if it is clickable with nothing else, change the current player and which and clicks current players current player head as heads that add the can click to and we'll just return. We are not any of the valid positions. We'll get the moves again. So the current reset the moves and let the click the piece for that valid grid because it's going to be for that grid or the grid after getting the click the piece and after that we'll just return. So it should be able to do it. Now let's set up a condition for the castle capture. So where before the current player after it player's position. After it change the player position, check item dot carries amount is capture. If it is a captured piece, then we'll need to just so first we'll set the piece dictionary for the item dot captured piece. Set active to false, false, and we'll just remove it. After removing it, let's check the game condition. Item not captured or p type is the so if it is a king, just do has game for go. So if you capture the king, the game is finished. This much enough. So now we need to create it inside the board. How much is it? 46 minutes. So let's first create the moves for the queens because it's here. And the stored moves, I'll just check it any are doing any. So let's go inside Visual Studio and we have the now we need to just create the get move. So we are getting the piece and tag switch on the piece. So let's do a switch and let's do this. Here first switch for the queen and let's do for the rook and bishop for the knight. Let's do it for the king. And finally we'll do for the pawn. To add the default case. So we have the switch ready. After doing that, let's create the directions for the queen. Let's create it as a read only list of grid. That grid. Read only list going to be a list grid. Here we'll call it queen direction. Inside the queen direction, create a new list of grid and a new grid. Inside this grid, let's pass the x position to be 0, the y position to be 1. So it is the downward direction. Let's copy So 0 and 1 negative upward 1 and 0 for the right. Similarly, for the negative 1, 0 is for the left. Now, repeat again all the zeros to plus and instead of 1. uh, Bottom right diagonal, top right diagonal, 1 and negative 1. Here, okay, negative 1. From top left, negative 1, y is going to be. So this one's for the top left and this one's bottom left and for the top left. So similarly, let's create the rook directions. So for the rook, don't have the diagonal. Similarly, for the bishop, have the horizontal and the vertical ones. And last, create for the knight. So for the knight, let's just so if we go to x and y to right, so y towards the 2 for that. Here, uh, so 1, 2, 1. So here, pass negative to 1 early, negative to 1. Top, we need to pass y to the one and negative 2. So the directions are correct. Now let's create the moves for the queen. For the queen, the first thing to do is get the direction with the list of grid. Just call it direction to be the queen. After setting that, for each is going to be grid, let temp direction. Go inside. So we have directions. Now we do is get to check. Here create it as a new grid. The pass the pause action uh, so it will get which immediate L action. So if it is right off, or it is. Now let's create the empty squares. First, we need to check if it's a valid grid. Then we need to check if it is empty. We'll do the get preset grid of to check. There we'll check for if it is not empty. So it was not -1. Similarly, we'll return a game piece. Need to check. So if it is -1, then we'll add it to the moves list, which is the piece moves. Ah, so we'll add it to the piece move. What add is a new move with start going to be the current pause to check, and it's not going to be a capture type. Capture is going to be false. So it will pass all the non-capturing. Hit the two again instead of the current pause. Add the tick. Okay, we'll pass that. So it will move till it hits some non-empty list in that direction or an invalid grid. So it will move in the all four directions. Now we need to check if the last grid, whichever it was hit, if we were, if it was an invalid grid, we won't do anything. But if it was invalid grid, and if we hit a player and that player is not equal to the current piece dot player, then we'll add it as a capture type. So if it's valid grid to check, thereafter check the get piece set grid to check dot. We only need to check if it is a valid grid, and we just need to check the piece number for the no the not the piece number. We need to check the player and check if it is not current dot player equal to current piece dot player, then it is capture type mode. So we'll do dot add here. We'll pass the pause and to check, and similarly to be true captured piece cap rotate. There's the piece code pass the captured piece to be the get piece set grid. Pass the so it should add that captured move. Let's see if there are any. See that there are not others. So we should be able to move the queen. Doesn't look like there is anything else. Let's create an update move. Let's add Add it. Rook. Yep. Let's do king and this one or the pawn. So it should return the active moves and we should be able to capture. Now let's add the update move. So the update move will just change. So let's add it as a function. Palette grids. Pass current move. It doesn't need to return anything. Let's get the piece set going to be whatever that piece set grid current move. That set the for this piece to be the mode of end and capture. What is capture? Peaceful dot remove dot cap. So it removes the capture. It should be fine. So after we do that, inside the game manager, it is also working and we need to call the update move function. So it will be called after we have the piece and capture piece. Capture. We'll do it before changing the current player. For the capture. So it moves the and after that, that's what is remaining. Let's go inside Unity. Say they are not. And I'll create a dummy board inside my going to have the two add wherever I want. I'll set at the start positioned it whatever the current start position is. Create a dummy board. Inside the dummy board, I'll do first set everything to 0. After pawn the two queens, queen is a valid position. Here, so I just changed the start position and only added the I just cleared out the start position and added my start position. Now if I hit play, I should only able to see the two queens. Now I hit the blue queen, red queen. Can capture and anymore. Where is this? Okay, there. So we can move the queen. Now let's just use that code. Let's move it for the rooks, bishops. So let's go inside Visual Studio. We are just going similarly for rook. Instead of the queen directions, we call the rook direction. Similarly, bishop will just change the direction, bishop direction. Now, inside the dummy board, let's add a rook and let's just, it doesn't need, bishop is positioned at the oh, the second one. After, now we hit play, steps, knights. So let's start playing. This, this, and capture. We can move all the pieces. Now we need to move for the knight. Similarly, it's going to be for the queen. But we need to add one more condition. So if it is not an empty grid, and we'll check for a capture. So let's do that. So let's go inside Visual Studio. Let's add, so for the knight, that's squared for the while. We'll do the if. Don't need to do the yes. Yep. Getting the current directions, which are the knight directions. We are going inside every direction, creating a new grid for that direction. Check is not capture. Yep, similar, but instead of if, we can do else if. Check current piece dot player. So is an invalid grid. Bad else if is a valid grid. That player is not current player. We need to add one is that position is not empty. Set grid, get it, check. So if it is an invalid grid, check again problems. That's why I added condition. So it works perfectly. Now similarly it was for the knight. Copy it again and we should be able to move the instead of knight direction. Add the queen direction and let's add a knight and I'll just add it added bishops and let's add some So we should be able to move every piece, and let's go inside the play. What we need here, 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 captured. It's just it's not going to show long. We have a few edge cases to do, which are for the pawns and castling and the piece upgrading. So let's do that. So we can move all the basic pieces now. Let's do a castling condition thing because it's pretty much difficult to check if that position matches. So for the castling, what we need to check is first let's do the for the red player to the king side castle. So we need to check if current piece dot player is equals to red. Then we check if current cause dot x equals to 4 dot y equals because it's at the fourth position, which is at the grid. And if the king is placed there, and we need to have a rook at the rightmost position, so we'll get piece grid, pass a new grid. Here we'll pass the x position 7 and the y position side castle. And for that player, red in that piece type needs to be rook, and copy it again. We need to have the piece number to be this one. So it should be empty, and also the sixth position should be empty. So if this condition matches, then what we'll do, the piece dot add add new move. For the new move, let's first get the starting position. Suppose going to grid and at the sixth position, and after that we add the captured calls can castle rook. We are going to the grid. Position going to so it can castle. After that we need to do it inside the update front move. At the update move after capture, what will check if is we can castle. So selected dot. So if it is a king, and current move dot and castle positions rook, and the rook's position is going to change at castle. After that, the update move should be done, and similarly, we need to change the rook's position in the board too. So we'll need to update in the game manager after captured condition item dot captured piece early as the item dot is captured. Check for the item dot can. So if I dot can castle and do the position, they are all already passing. We are already changing the dictionary for the board inside the mouse. There's no need to call out. So let's see as item protect. So it should change that castling. So it should be able to castle. Now let's change the board's position. Castle towards the king's right side. Here it was 5. Let's position here. See if we can for red. So let's go inside Visual Studio. So the king is able to move castle. Now similarly we'll add the queen side castle and player's king. The code it to what I did was just check this. Let's move. We should be able to move here castling. Problems. Now let's add the condition for the castle. Similarly for all the castlings for so moves are step moves are complete, knight moves and also be so let's create the king's castle. Red player need to 0 0 empty empty. So if it is empty, then where does it? The rook moves towards it goes to position. Rook will move towards the position. Get it. So let's check if it is working. So let's change the board's position to match it. 0 and after doing this, let's go inside Unity. We should be able to castle. So it should move here. And I'll just refer to yes, castle. where the castle it moves, it moves correct. I just wanted to check if I have moved castling. So I'll play again. So here two castling is done. Now let's add the castling for the blue. This is both board. Let's and similarly for here to check if the y is going to needs and similarly here I need throw so what is happening and now the studio now let's delete everything position 1 2 3 4 so we should be able to kingside castle now the only thing remaining are the pawns where there are pretty much we just need to add it as an edge case and conditions. So the pawn moves in the forward direction as at the starting position at 2 steps and it captures diagonally. And after reaching the end, it also upgrades. Before that, there's also a move called Anpus. Has moved 2 steps, then we need to check if any of the enemy pieces towards the left or the right. So if it is present, it will create a short L capture. Not a short L, it will just move diagonally and it will be able to capture the piece even if it is not at the diagonal. Just so we'll need to create that. So let's first have the pawn move forward and capture. Then afterwards, we'll try to create the n% move and the upgradation condition. So let's go inside Visual Studio. Let's get the condition. So for the pawn, first we need to check red piece. Let's go inside the pawn. The first check current piece uh, here red. So if it is red, do the following. Else we'll do another. First we'll check for the for. So let's create a grid. Temp direction grid. We need to check and the forward direction. Y is going to be. After that, create a grid to check. Side to check. Add the to check. Pass the temp dot x current pause dot x. Delete dot s for y. So after doing that, we will check is valid grid to check. There are not any place for any forward move that piece of negative one. So if it is negative one and remove, add, remove, remove that as and as to check and can is captured. Default booleans are going to be false, so I'm not going to pass it. But let's just pass. We can have. So if it is a valid grid, then we'll move forward. Then let's do the double. So create as a boolean, call it can double. Can move forward. This is valid grid. Check and get piece set it to check. So the front position is valid and empty. Then we'll do double. Let's set the temporary direction. And here we'll move forward two positions is and after doing that we'll upgrade check towards color and it can don't need to add just variable so it is work correctly. After that we need to add the capturing condition. So the capture happens into left diagonal, right diagonal. This one's simple. Next add capture. Inside the capture so is let the temp to be grid capture. Let's go towards the right. And after that, yeah, check is good. We need to have the piece number not equal to -1 and addition. Let piece set grid check player and play. So if this condition matches, capture is going to be true. Captured piece is going to be the piece set grid, and so it should be working fine. Again, in the direction capture. Here we'll just go negative, positive. So this is for the capture, and now let's just copy this thread, paste. We are just going to one, two, one, do it goes capture. I will do. So let's see if it works. And add have ads, do it on the default piece because we see any problems. Now let's go inside Unity and let's hit play. We should be able to single move, double move, and capture. Capture. Uh, okay. Here's and let's see. So the capturing is working perfectly. Now we need to have the n% move, the piece upgrade move. Around conditions remaining. It should be done around 2 hours. So let's add. What should we do? Let's do the piece upgrade because it will just call. It will have its own function. Doing it from game map. So we need to create to check what we want to upgrade. So like Unity, let's create that UI and see call upgrade and here start to it rook at the sprite, not the rook, queen, Let's set it to red. Call it queen. No need for any text information and leave the text. And similarly, let the queen knight. Let's change let's change its y position if should be able to click. Now, when we need to show this piece, so we'll need to show when any of the pawn for the red, it's going to be the 7th position. For the blue, it's going to be the. Let's set it to false at the beginning. Created a reference to it in the years. Now let's go inside Visual Studio, and what we'll need to do is we'll create two functions. For that functions, we'll need to create it also inside the board with class. So let's create the upgrade piece. So inside the upgrade piece, we'll just get the game piece and we'll just rearrange its dictionary position. That is, let's create a public game piece. Yep, and that upgrade piece needs to return the upgraded piece. So pass the game piece and the current piece. Because we need to know what we are upgrading to. After that, let's get the current pose. So the current pose we are going to get for the current piece. So get as the player these positions current piece. After getting that positions, we'll just remove. So now we have whatever piece, and we'll set the current piece dot piece type to be the upgrade file to these positions dot contains key piece. So if it contains the current piece, we'll increase its piece number so we can have a new. And after doing that, set the piece positions current piece position. We have removed it and we upgraded the piece and then we added it, and then we return the current piece. And now when we need to call the upgrade piece, when a player reaches any of, let's check it after the castling condition. Let's do it. After player has castled, player has moved, and board is upgraded. So we'll check. First thing we need to check, click the piece, player, towards player, click is a red pawn. So it is a red player is a pawn. And what we'll do is we'll get the end position dot end dot y. So if it is at the end with 7, we'll, what we'll do is pause the game. And after pausing the game, we'll show the option attack. Similarly, with 2 piece, here will so it should show the option. After that, we need to have the two options to queen. So they are going to be void and will attach to, and here to get. After that, get right, red pieces. Queen is stored at the 0 1 2. Similarly, not red player, then blue. After that, we need sprites. We'll do piece position, piece dictionary for the clicked piece. Clicked piece will hit render, hide renderer. After getting this, we'll set it to current, and we need to so code dot up here as the key. We are upgrading it value. Game object going to be the piece first. We'll remove that, and we'll set upgrade piece temporary object. So similarly, it's going to happen for knight, but instead of putting it to third 0 3, knight's at the position and just pass queen the knight. So it should work. Game should be paused and everything should work fine. So let's check if we can get it working correctly. Piece upgradation should work. Let's let's upgrade it here at 6. So now if we go inside Unity, play, we should have a blue pawn at, we should be able to upgrade here. add the event play queen pass. Now if we hit play and let's upgrade this hit this piece upgradation is work. Now the only last thing remaining is the n%, for which I have created a new boolean because it was almost pretty much difficult to store it. So I have to store it inside the move so it gets. I'll have to update it at wherever the move is called. So let's do that. And for that, what I've done is stored that n plus what piece needs to be n%, that also I've stored it. And we'll check if the last move was an n%. That current piece is the 9%. We'll add that whatever that 10% was there to that. So if we want to n%, so let's go inside Visual Studio and let's do that. For that, we'll need a few more variables. First variable is we are going to need is the game piece. The game piece we are going to need is the n% left. So the left is going to be reference from the node the n. After that, we need a boom call as left. Similarly, the n% right. We'll need to store the previous move. Let's set the previous move to be new move. Hide the so we won't get any errors. We call it when it is empty. So after doing that, we need to go inside the pawn. Inside the pawn, we forgot to add the double to check it can double. Have that can double condition, or it needs to be empty. So for the n%, we are going to have the move as an n% if we have moved a double move. Double and n%. So for the pawn, new grid. So after we have done this, what we'll need, let's create a boolean. We'll call it can set. And let's just set. Now what we'll do is check for all the n%. And after that, we'll add a can n% to be the so let's so let's get the grid. For the left we are just grid, and for the x we pass that as one. will pass. After that, let's add it left x and check y. So it is the left grid. Now what we need to check, if first thing it needs to have is the is valid grid left, and after that we need to get the piece number at that left piece. Get piece at grid left. There should be a piece, and it's there should be a piece. So it piece number is not mine, and the piece we are going to have. We are doing it for the guided blue. So let's do the red first. So inside the red, this one we are going doing. So for the double, right in and pass and the grid left and grid to F to 1 3 to dot. So this is the grid. Now when it check this grid valid, this is valid grid left, and this grid is not empty. We set F dot. Then we need to get that piece. So its player needs to be blue and its piece type should be get piece set grid left, set the player and early dot piece types going to pawn. So only pawns going to capture. Then first thing we'll set is set it to true, percent left. Percent left will be get piece set grid left. After that, create an end. And here move inside the move, pass the starts going to left and grid. At grid, pass position to be current pose not x. We are calculating with reference to the current pawn, and y is going to be current pawn, not a y. So we are moving it forward, and that have captured uh, captured piece. uh, so it should be able to n%. Let's add. So this was for the left. Now we need to do the same left. One add plus add off viewpoint can n%. Uh, right. So you get the start to be right. Is to and third piece going to be the correct. So this is just for the calculation. So after we have calculated it, we'll need to store it inside a previous move, store it in the update mode, and for the previous move, after that, we'll add a condition for for the and capture check. If the current piece matches that 10%, and we can and current piece match to match there dot player dot left. So if it matches and that previous move, so if we can n%, this one can be not at early 2 for the right points. Uh, early so we should be able to answer red pieces. So let's check if we so for that add it what we need to n%. The red moves, the blue should be able to. Let's add it for the both the so for the pawn double pass this double, let's add that. Where did I add the capture. It's going to be similar. It, so if it has an n%, yes, move. So let's hit play. Let's see if blue can and let's go. Going to be the last rule. We have done the upgradation. All the player moves are there. The castling is done. And this is we should be able to move. Going to as moved and now let's see if red also can n%, and we'll just fix a few variables here and there and it should be done. So let's just copy the whole n%. So that was for the n%. Adding add n% with, let's see the direction we are going to right, left, pillar, red pawn. Similarly, here we need to get the red pawn. So for the blue, we just need to get the red pawn. Everything else is similar, so I don't remaining. So we should be able to play the game, and this video is also 2 hours long, almost. And now let's see if red can n%. Red, the red piece here, and let's move. Now red can n%. Not happening. So the red cannot n%. Let's start play. This here. Let's there's some errors. No, it was, and now it isn't. So let's try to fix it and let's see why it's not happening. And let's just what we did. Let's just undo a few things. So let's for the second double working. Let's just undo one. Let's just delete the code was working till that, and afterwards it was not working. So we did it. Afterwards, let's see if now the blue can capture. Let's move. Capture is working. Let's see if the left. So the left capture is not. Okay, maybe I know. For the right capture, first thing, let's go inside Visual Studio and I'll just go for the left. And here's the right. Chart is right. We are going towards the right. It needs to go towards the left. That's why it was. And similarly for here, needs to go towards right. Oh no, 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 no. That was not it. That was false. We don't need to change the Y position. Let's see. The right was working. Where's the problem? Check it again. Let- Let's let's check the capturing condition. Temporary direction capture for the left. We are checking current piece dot player is n player per n% at then. Similarly for the n 10%. Similarly it should here left, left and right. Now let's hit play and error is errors are good. Told you last week. So the right is working. Let's now do the condition. So there is a problem with the left. We don't know where the problem is not moving towards the left. Let's see where it can add a time is work. But we can move towards the right, but we cannot move. There should be some problem the left, but right. We can only it is happening only for the red. So let's go inside Visual Studio and see what's different between them. So the first thing for the check uh, for the left, we are moving direction. Then checking if valid grid after the pause. Okay, so the left is working, but the right is not. We are going. We are going towards the right. Similarly, by check. Okay, okay, okay. Right. Check is not changed here. Then it is valid grid of light. Okay, here was the problem. Right. Get preset grid right. Similarly, at yeah. See, told you need to learn to catch the errors or there'll be so many problems. So let's now hit play and now it should work. So and let's just capture it. Let's see if we can. So let's move red. Now, if whenever we move any of the pieces, the cannon set to. So let's do a tricky one. Let's move to move the blue pieces. Maybe yep, is working. So there is an error, and the error is happening because the percent move is stored. Uh, I'll just leave it as it is. How the game works. Nobody won't be doing such foolish mistakes. but let's see if we can rectify it. So we are only checking if the current piece can end, that piece can end percent towards the right, and we need to pass the and so we'll need also to pass the n percent at left and the right. Now I'll leave as it is because already doing pretty much. That was all this for this video, and let's see how the game's working. If you like the video, do like and subscribe. If you want to suggest any games we try to create, comment it with the so for now I'm just a beginner, so I'll just doing games which I'm able to do. And that was it for this video. See you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.